I'm Mary. Standing here in the cemetery, the pale summer sky above me, I can't help but think back to how my life took such a drastic turn. 6 months have passed since the day Christopher, the man I once thought I'd spend my life with, was led away in shackles to serve a 15-year prison sentence. The courtroom was a blur of activity. Reporters crowded by the entrance, their cameras flashing as Christopher was escorted inside. He, who once commanded every room with charm and confidence, now kept his eyes fixed on the floor. I sat quietly in the gallery, my hands folded in my lap. The months leading up to this moment had been a nightmare. Endless interviews with detectives, sleepless nights reviewing the evidence I'd risked everything to gather. It all started on my wedding day. The old seaside estate was decked out in all its glory. Chandeliers sparkled like constellations in the ballroom, and tables were arranged with precision. But I was in a marble restroom at the end of a quiet corridor, staring at myself in the mirror. I was the picture of grace in my wedding gown, a daughter of a wealthy real estate mogul, my father Richard, trying to seal an alliance with the man I was about to marry, Alexander. Alexander was reliable, practical, or so I thought. He'd been there for me after the death of my first love, Ethan. Ethan, whose laughter once filled my apartment, whose touch made the world feel right. I was 25 when he died in a car accident on the highway. The image of his overturned car and the flashing ambulance lights still haunted my dreams. Now, at 26, I was standing in a wedding dress he'd never seen, about to vow my life to another man. I was conflicted. My father said it was time to move on, and Alexander whispered that Ethan would have wanted me to be happy. But as I stood there, my eyes filled with unshed tears, I wondered if marrying Alexander meant leaving Ethan behind completely. Then, the restroom door creaked open. A man in a waiter's uniform stood behind me in the mirror. He was older, his gray hair neatly trimmed. His eyes were steady, as if he'd entered with a purpose. "Please, miss," he said gently. "Forgive me for intruding, but there's something I need to tell you." My stomach nodded as he warned me not to drink from the champagne flute with the peach ribbon, saying that Alexander had slipped something into it. I couldn't believe it. Alexander had been my lifeline after Ethan's death. He'd been patient and supportive. But the look in the waiter's eyes was sincere, and I couldn't dismiss his warning. Back in the ballroom, I tried to act normal. When it was time for the first toast, I decided to switch the glasses, using an old superstition as an excuse. Alexander's reaction was too quick and defensive, confirming my worst fears. I then accidentally spilled the champagne in the peach-ribboned flute. Alexander's momentary flash of rage betrayed him. During our first dance, Alexander whispered in my ear that there were sleeping pills in the champagne, claiming it was for my own good. He also revealed that he knew about the photograph of Ethan I kept under my pillow, something only my therapist knew. I realized he'd been watching me for a long time. In our wedding suite later that night, he admitted that he'd planned Ethan's death. He said Ethan was in the way of his business ambitions. My father was a powerful real estate mogul, and through me, Alexander wanted to gain access to his contracts and the valuable land by the harbor. He proposed that I play the role of the happy wife for 18 months until he secured the contracts, and then we'd divorce amicably. I knew I couldn't let him get away with it. I bided my time, waiting for the moments when his attention slipped. Weeks into our marriage, while he was away on business, I started searching his office. In a locked cabinet, I found a thin envelope with photographs of Ethan's car accident. They were crime scene photos, and I knew Alexander had kept them for a reason. Behind the photographs was a slip of paper with an address. That night, I took a taxi to a warehouse district on the edge of the harbor. In a storage unit, I found files labeled with dates that matched my life. There were surveillance photographs of my apartment before I even met Alexander, and detailed notes about Ethan's routines. I also found lists of contacts, phone numbers, and payments, indicating that Alexander hadn't acted alone. I took out my phone and started taking pictures. Every image was a nail in Alexander's coffin. But then, he showed up. He was furious, demanding my phone. He threatened to kill me if I became a liability. Just as I was in danger, the storage unit door burst open. It was the waiter, Mr. Johnson, who was actually an undercover detective. There was a hidden camera in the unit, and every word Alexander had said was recorded. The case against Alexander was airtight. The prosecution presented all the evidence, from the surveillance photos to his recorded confession. The jury found him guilty on all counts. As I stand here at Ethan's grave, I place a bouquet of lilies, his favorite, against the stone. I've moved to a small apartment near the river. I've started volunteering with a foundation that supports families who've lost loved ones in traffic accidents. I've also met a kind-hearted artist, David, through the charity. It's nothing serious yet, but he's a good friend. I know that justice has been served, but it can't bring Ethan back. There will always be scars, but I'm no longer defined by betrayal or grief. I'll build something real from the pieces of what's broken. I'm free at last, and I'm ready to embrace the future.